Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm sat here with the cast of The Viral Murders, and in tonight's video, we are going to be talking about dreams and the worst nightmares that you've ever had. Being on this show is possibly one of them. I don't know. But here we are. So tell me, who in the chat right now has had a really bad nightmare, something that's absolutely, completely freaked them out? We've got Vadney and Dylan with their hands up now, and Jay. If I come to Jay first, then tell us about it. I don't want you to sort of give us your whole psyche in open, laid bare, or anything. But what was this?
So I would say there was two. The first one made no sense whatsoever. But when I was younger, I would have this reoccurring nightmare. And every time I'd wake up out of the nightmare, I'd wake up crying and screaming, but I couldn't remember it. Okay, so then the first time I ever remembered it after having it, I never had it again. And all this nightmare was, it's completely
That sounds like my love life.
So it makes no sense at all. It's not even scary, but for some reason it would freak me out. And I think it was just the overall feeling of it. So all it would be, I would get a shot of an old lady walking along the street carrying some shopping. Right? But she was all dressed in black. Very creepy lady, all dressed in black. Then it would quickly change to a load of sort of round heads, I don't know, Knights of the Round Table, like soldiers with a battering ram battering at this big wooden door. Then it would flip to my mother's bedside table, which had a pink light on it, this really old style, like Victorian light. Then it would flip back to the old lady walking along the street with the heavy shopping. Then it would flip to the battering ram. Then it would flip to the light. And it would get faster and faster and faster. And that was it. Wow. But for some reason, it would freak me out so much. But like I said, the first time I ever remembered it, I never had it again. And so that was the first
strange
one.
And it's so disjointed as well. And Neil Gaiman talks about that when he's talked about dreams in the past and why dreams don't make good stories, because the narrative is all over the place. There's no sort of structure to it. It's things that are obviously connected to your psyche somehow. That's weird. Yeah. So anyway, Dylan, you were somebody else who put your hand up. What was yours?
Similar to Jay, there was two. The first one was not a reoccurring one. I just remember having it when I was a kid. It was perhaps the very first bad dream I ever had. And it was where my little brother was pinned up against a wall by this huge insect-type creature, which then proceeded to peel his skin from his body. But instead of being skulls and muscles and stuff, because when I was that young, I didn't realize that's what's behind all that. There was just this weird gelatinous glob of white and red mucus type shit on the inside. So I've got no idea what that was about.
And you're sure this was a dream?
Yes.
Deeply suppressed
memory.
Still
alive, the skin's still attached, so yeah, it has to be. But I did have a recurring element in the dream, which continued quite a lot up until I've got over my kind of fear of heights, really, which is where I would go to somewhere high. I would find myself on top of a mountain or on top of a large building or something like that. Realize I am like so many feet in the air and really, really high, and the ground's down below. And I would just be overcome by this weird feeling of vertigo, and I'd have to try and pin myself down to the base of wherever it was that I was at, just so I wouldn't risk falling off the edge of something. And this had happened quite a lot. But since I've been going up and down ladders quite a lot for the past 10 years or so, I've kind of got over that. It's all about balance, and that's where my fear of hitting the ground came from, I suppose.
And of course, if you're not familiar with going up and down ladders, that's all about balance as well.
Yeah, exactly.
Matt.
Yeah, I've had two recurring dreams as well. Well, actually, truth is they only really happen once, both of them. So they're not recurring; they were just weird. The first one, and they're both historical, which is strange. I wonder why. Probably because I like history. But anyway, the first one was actually in a mountain area exploring an underground mine, and this is the American Midwest. And for some reason, it it added into my fascination with the paranormal as well, because what happened was they stumbled across an Indian burial ground inside this cave. And the worst part was my character basically, to put a long story short, we were attacked by these spirits of native Indians, and one of them puts his hand in my chest and rips out my beating heart. And I see it right in front of me.
It did.
Yeah. I had this while I was on a church trip to Bonsall, which was strangely enough. I know. And then the second one I actually had about a few years back, and it was in an old Victorian mansion. I remember a circular window with a black fireplace, and in front of this fireplace was this mean old lady. And I was a child in this dream, so I remember that this old lady was coming at me with something like a cane or something like that, but she was coming over to like basically beat two stuffings out of me. I don't remember the reason, but all I can remember was saying and screaming it, "I'll be good, I'll be good, please don't hurt me, I'll be good, I'll be good." And then it was so bad, I was screaming it, and my ex-girlfriend was next to me, and she was holding me so tightly because I was moving about all scared, and then I woke up. So
that's really weird. I've just looked at what that means. It says when you see an older woman in your dreams, it's a sign of good luck and great joy.
Maybe not in this instance.
No.
I haven't finished. However, if the older woman is ugly, this dream is a sign that a woman is trying to hurt you.
Wow,
it might be that interpreting dreams is nonsense. I don't know. Maybe Google doesn't have all of the answers. I'm just saying.
All I know is it was probably my most frightening dream I've ever had.
It is a weird one, and the second time that old women have come up in this as well, which is interesting. It's an interesting motif for that kind of nightmare thing, and it's things that then crop up in horror films as well. You know, it's woman in black, woman in white. They've both got that kind of motif of that in there as well. Vadney, you said you had, and now the other thing that I can't get out of my head is an Indian burial ground being a place where old cormers go to die. So Vadney, you said you had a bad dream as well. Was it as bad as this video?
Like everybody else, I had two, and I haven't had either of them for a few years now. Thank goodness. I have one of them was trying to find a toilet to go to that wasn't full of shit. In a public place, literally every single toilet I went through, I'd open the door and it was just over brimming, and I just obviously didn't want to use it. That was horrible. That was revolting. That one, and I had that a lot. So I don't know what that means. If you've got a dream thing,
I have got it up.
You've had to deal with a lot of shit.
No, well, I have got it up, and it says that dreaming about needing to go to the loo is generally a sign that you need to relieve yourself, both emotionally and psychologically, and if the bed is wet, physically.
Yeah.
Wow.
Did you have to wait till I was taking a puff on my thing?
But the fact I couldn't find anywhere to go because it was all full was horrendous. But the one that didn't scare me. Just made me, when I woke up, I just used to be sweating, thinking, "Oh, that was revolting."
But that kind of does make sense though, if it is something that is blocking you emotionally or psychologically, and then you're finding toilets and opening doors, and you can't release that.
Yeah,
absolutely. That would make sense, wouldn't it?
I suppose it would.
So essentially, what you're saying
the hell out of me was being in a hotel, and it was a really complicated hotel, and I couldn't find my way back to my room. And I'd get in a lift and find out I was in the wrong lift on the wrong floor, and I couldn't get to the area of the hotel I went to. And I used to go up and down lifts, up and down stairs, and never be in the right area of this enormous hotel to actually get into my room. And I used to wake up absolutely scared witless, and I had that since I was a small child.
Wow.
That was really weird.
Yeah, I was just saying the interpretation of the toilet dream is essentially what you're saying is that the shit that was in her life was blocking. See, the
essentially, yeah.
Now, isn't it? Really?
Sorry.
Levels.
There's another interpretation to that, though, which is that because you're dealing with everybody else's crap, you haven't got time to take care of your own.
Deal with your
So
own.
the reason you can't find your own
one-
room is because in whatever you're going through at that time, you're dealing with everybody else's stuff. So there's no time to focus on you. You can't have that healing and that relaxation.
It might be that.
That makes sense.
But, yeah, I suppose it does. But, I don't think it's as grand as that. I think it's just that I'm fucking useless when you're trying to find something, really.
Tash, what about
It's far too grandiose.
Tash? What about you and nightmares? Have you had anything that sort of really spooked you out when you were asleep?
Yeah, I mean, I've had lots of really bad nightmares, like things that would normally, or that I would have thought would have terrified me, but they weren't too bad. There was one when I was really little that I used to have all the time, and that was more terrifying than any sort of horror nightmares that I've ever had. And it was literally this. It's like I was in a porchway, and you got your door here, and then you've got two columns, and then those brick lattices that you get coming across there. And everything was flooded, and I'm swimming round and round this thing with a wolf chasing me, swimming after me, and that's all the dream was. And I'm just swimming and swimming, and this wolf was just chasing me, and we're just swimming round this, like these two pillars through this thing, like over and over again. And that was all the dream was, and that scared me more than the other one was Texas Pete. When I was really young, I'd watched an episode of Super Ted. I had a nightmare about Texas Pete, but like the wolf one was the one that used to get me all the time because it was repetitive, and I've still got it like it's ingrained in my head. It's so clear.
Yeah.
And I can still see the image of me swimming and remember what it felt like in the dream. And I've had worse dreams. That's the weird thing, but none of those have scared me more than this one.
That is really odd. I'm trying to look up wolf.
There's a lot of wolf mythology and stuff like that, so you should be able to find something.
So it's something that stressed you out in your waking life. Most likely because you're being energetically bullied in some way. I don't know what the difference is between just normal bullying and energetic bullying. Maybe you've had some Red Bull before you go and do your bullying.
Or
I don't know.
Normal bullying is you're a dick. Energetic bullying is you're a dick. You know, it's
possibly it could very well
doing
be.
star jumps. You know.
The wolf could also be a metaphor for being afraid of your own power and being afraid of your own shadow. So if we take the figure of the wolf as being the big bad that we don't want to recognize and see, depending on what's going on in your life at the time, it's either a case of you're trying to ignore what's happening, or more likely, with the wolf metaphor being the lone wolf character, you're afraid of listening to that voice which tells you what you actually need to do, which is to access that more savage and more instinctual side of yourself.
Jay had a second one. We haven't heard Jay's second.
Yes.
Yeah.
What was your Jay's second?
Oh,
your
yeah,
second one, Jay.
This was
Yes.
awful. This was when my children were quite little, actually, and I was on a bridge and I could see my children walking towards a railway. And my little boy, he was only about 4, and he fell onto the railway, and I was shouting and shouting, but nothing was coming out. And I was shouting to him, and then a train came along and just went over his head. And just as it went over his head, it woke me up. And
I was going to say, you usually wake up at that point.
Out. Yeah, I woke up at that point. And that, honestly, that really affected me for days, that one, yeah. Yeah, that was a...
That plays into the parents' nightmare, worst nightmare of losing the child and not being able to save them and it happening in front of them, I think. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
That's where our subconscious takes us into the what if phase.
Yeah.
When it starts giving us those dreams of, okay, what would you actually react like if this did actually happen? It's just more of a subconscious way of reevaluating our priorities and for our loved ones. Essentially, just keeping you in that way of. No, you still love your son. It's okay, but if anything was to happen, of course you'd be devastated. Absolutely.
What's really weird here is that putting that into Google, there is a question about it. I dreamt about children being crushed under a train, and I was beside the train. I could not look because I was devastated. And the interpretation here, it says that a train represents a rigid path on the road of life. limited to where it can go, and you're like a passenger, but not in the driver's seat. And and the children, as much as they represent your child, represents your inner child as well.
Okay.
Yeah. Very weird. I don't know if any of this is true or not. I would imagine a lot of it isn't, but
Sounds very deep.
Artistic
It does.
interpretation.
possibly, very possibly. Yeah, Demelza, have you ever had anything that's just completely freaked you out when you've been asleep?
Oh, good God, yes, a lot. But one, some that kind of spring to mind. At least one that that is burnt into my brain. I'll probably never ever forget, no matter how much I want to. Is one time. It was only one time that I had this dream, but that's just how much it freaked me out. Was I can't remember what I think I was in 12, 13, and I was just wandering around town in my dream, seeing people that I knew, and like when someone, like their back was turned to me, so I would automatically reach out to touch their shoulders to get their attention or something, and the second I touched them, their neck snapped to one side and they would fall down dead. And I got really freaked out, like tried to find someone else to help, and then I kept touching people, and every single time I did, neck snap, dead on the ground. And I woke up screaming my head off. I was so freaked out. And my mum actually, like, obviously because child crying, but tried to like hug me, and I flipped out and like fell off the bed and was like rocking in the corner. I didn't want anyone to touch me after that because I was so scared that something bad was going to happen to them if they did.
Gosh.
Wow.
I'm not looking that up. That's just too freaky.
Heard it here, folks. Orange was the killer all along.
And with that, we come to the end of this particular video.
You haven't
dreams.
told us your dreams.
Well, I don't.
Yes.
I don't.
Not getting away with it that easily.
I don't have many of them. I haven't really had a nightmare. I've dreamt that I needed the loo several times, which we've talked about before. You know,
Maybe
and
his
it's,
life is enough of a nightmare. That he doesn't
well,
require them.
I've always had problems sleeping,
Oh.
and so I never remember dreams and stuff. I
Well,
just don't at all. It's not something I've ever really had much of an experience of, which feels just as odd saying. As
but you've never
never
even had lucid dreams or anything like that, because they're really freaky, but they're great. I love
No,
lucid
I've never had anything like
Lucid
that.
dreams.
I've done hypnosis before, but I don't know. I couldn't say whether or not that experience is anything like having a dream, because I don't.
Wow.
I've probably had them. You've got to have had them because you have them when you have REM, but I don't remember them at all. And certainly nothing that's affected me whilst I was asleep that has made me woke up and gone, oh God, that was weird. You know.
Wow. Anybody
And
else
with
had
that, we really do have to go, I'm afraid. Dreams, they're weird and strange things, but if you find yourself underground with an Indian burial ground up a ladder with an old woman, then maybe it's not real life. Yes. Maybe it's not real life. We'll never know. If you've enjoyed this strange video, then please do like and hit the subscribe button, little bell icon, and the all notifications tab. We'll see you next time. And don't stop dreaming, everybody.
Oh, I
Goodbye.
got these ones.
Bye.
Don't stop believing. Woo!
Bye.